Her background is
But-
nerd.
Darren should have gone to school here instead of Cutter, because you are a devil. I can tell you that right now. A minute.
She
early.
rolls in like she's a Hollywood movie star now. She just here, hey, she's just here for the camera.
I guess I tooted.
No hard-hitting questions here.
Yeah,
Shall
but-
we talk about my one sentence resignation?
Well, this is the next episode of Spilling the Tea in Studio D, and we are on the road once again in beautiful downtown Mountain Pine, Arkansas. What a great drive-in this morning.
Yeah, leaves are changing, looking really
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah.
It's like it's
This is kind of a hidden diamond, if you will. I mean, it really
Yeah.
is a beautiful campus out here, the way it's
Yeah.
set back here.
the first time I was like, how do I get to the school?
Yeah.
The first time I came out,
Right.
but it's really pretty
Right.
out here.
Absolutely. So it's, appreciate the invite, and we're very honored this morning to have Miss Katie Worley, first grade teacher. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That's-
First grade.
That's about as much homework as I've done. So, whew, got
I
that
never
right.
do homework
That's right.
because I just
yeah.
get to be the co-host and
Yeah.
occasionally say
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Or Darren makes fun of me.
She's
you know.
the eye
Yeah.
candy.
That's right.
and by that, I mean the letter I. Her nickname is Candy, so it's all about her. That's
the
what-
the
that's what that-
mathlete.
Okay.
That's
The
what-
mathlete. As of last, what is that last podcast? You're
Yeah.
talking about me being
yeah.
an athlete.
And you
Yeah.
were 100% owning that and bragging about
I'm owning
so,
it. I'm
yeah.
owning it. Former math teacher.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
yeah.
What
Okay.
grade?
Yeah.
High school and junior high.
High school.
Yeah. So when you say first grade, I'm like,
Yeah.
And see, when you
Yeah.
say high school, I'm like,
yeah. I know.
Yeah, exactly.
God has a plan for everyone,
See,
huh?
see
Put
how
'em
she
where they
turned
need
that
'em.
around on her already. We're not even 5 minutes in. So, again, we got to get that on her shirt. Eye candy.
Yeah.
That's
It is
right.
Studio D as in Darren.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I don't
Yeah.
talk very much on this podcast. I mean,
okay.
occasionally.
Okay.
Occasionally.
Not rolling that way so far, but hey, enough about us.
Yes.
So Katie, tell us a little bit about yourself. Why education? You know, your career choice. Did you have family that was in it? So where'd you go to high school or school?
I went to high school at Lake Hamilton here
Okay.
in town, and then I went to UCA in
Gotcha.
Conway,
Uh-huh.
and I was there for 4 years, and I pretty much always knew that I wanted to be a teacher. My mama was a kindergarten teacher growing up.
Okay.
So I grew
Aw.
up working in her classroom.
At
and,
Lake Hamilton.
she was actually at Langston.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah.
she's
sure.
still at Hot Springs District.
Gotcha.
She's
Okay.
Janie Hill. She's their dyslexia
Okay.
Awesome.
guru over there.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, I grew up in her classroom, and I knew that is just what I loved doing. I knew
Right.
those were the little ages were where I was called to be. And so, yeah, I've just
Yeah.
always known that I wanted to work with kiddos and
Yeah. So-
enjoy it a lot.
So, what year is this for you as far as being in?
This is year 9.
Okay. Is this
You've
your
been
only
here?
stop,
Yeah.
Mountain Pine, or?
This has, they hired me right when I got
Aw.
out of college.
Love
One of
it.
my best friends worked here, Nicole Lawrence. She still
Yeah.
works here.
Right.
And when I was graduating, she was like, Katie, I need you to come work at Mountain Pine. It's such a fun
Right.
school. And
Aw.
they had a first grade position open, and
Right.
You know, Nicole,
I was so
she's-
blessed.
She's married to Dustin,
Yes.
who grew up across from my parents.
Oh,
and so
okay.
I've known him
What a
since he was
small world.
so little. Yes, it's so funny.
Yes.
So I just saw his
That's
mom the
awesome.
other day.
Okay. Great. And,
Small world.
Hey-
Small world.
Yeah.
how about Katie and I interview you today? Will that be all right?
No, I had to tell her because he's a really good guy, and I've
Yeah.
met her,
Yes.
through him.
Yes.
So she's sweet.
She's
really
super sweet. Yeah.
So do you think at this point in your career, is it everything you thought it would be, hoped it would be?
Yes. I mean, it's definitely hard.
Right.
But I knew the amount of extra work that goes into it from watching
Right.
my mom.
Mm-hmm.
So that part wasn't really a surprise to me. But yeah, I mean, it's hard, but it's still rewarding. It's still what I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
First grade is still the grade where I love to be. And even on the hard days, you still have,
yeah.
the moments where you feel blessed and you feel honored to
Sure.
get to be a part of that
Right.
kiddo's life.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still love these folks that say, yeah, man, y'all got it made. Yeah, I mean, you're 8 to 3, and then, your day is over.
If only. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, if
exactly. If
Yeah.
only.
Yes.
Yeah.
It feels like before
Yeah.
one to-do list is complete, another one has already
Oh, yeah.
started.
Yeah, you might as
know.
well throw the original out because
Yeah, we just got a brand new one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The old monitor and adjust, right?
Absolutely.
Gosh.
So, UCA. So, is that what you started out in education there?
Yes, I did. Yeah. I went through the honors college there. So that was kind of how I got my foot in the door with UCA. And then I was actually the only one in the honors college doing teaching.
Right.
So I was kind of the odd man out through that. But I really enjoyed UCA's teaching program.
Right.
And the Conway school districts were really great to
Right.
work in for internship.
So, is that where you were at Conway for the internship? Or?
Yes, I was in Conway for internship, and that's where I was for that. And now, actually, I get to have an intern this year, which has
Oh,
been
wow.
brand new for me.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And it has been really fun to
Right.
get to watch her grow. And,
Right.
when Miss E told me I was getting an intern at the end of the year last year,
Right.
I was nervous because
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
I am now the adult that's
Yeah.
responsible for
Yeah.
helping someone else,
Yeah.
just like I was helped.
But you probably have learned from her too.
I tell her that
yeah.
all the time. Yes, I have learned from her too, for sure.
Yeah.
It is a lifelong learning thing.
Oh, 100%. We get the opportunity, since Henderson's 5 minutes, OBU's 5 minutes from the office. So we work with both teacher ed prep programs. And the other day, it was the entrance interviews that we set in on. And usually one of the two of us get to go, and it was worked out where I could go this time. And to me, the most exciting thing about that whole thing is the numbers are up in education because, there for a while we were, lots of folks getting out, but we had a lot of incredible people from a single mom to, just tons of stories.
Yeah.
So it's good to
That's
see that
awesome.
back up again. But the internship, obviously, one of the key reasons for getting an intern is putting somebody with, I guess what you would say, a practitioner that kind of knows what's going on. So you talk about learning from her. What's maybe something that you've learned from your intern?
She's just had she's got a really, and I didn't feel like I was very well versed in that when I was an intern. She does really good helping with some behavior issues.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's kind of given me like a fresh perspective on language, I guess. She, I feel like you get bogged down when you're in it for a while.
Yeah.
And, we all know the kiddos are getting harder behavior-wise
Oh, yeah.
the longer I'm in it.
Right.
But she was just a good reminder to always remain calm and try to, use language that puts it back on them and makes them responsible for their own choices. And so she's just been a good reminder of how we're supposed to handle behavior and given me some, ideas that I may not have thought of, or that when you're in it, you're quick to just, hey, I need you to quit doing that. And she will take the time to, explain what I need you to quit doing calmly without
Right.
getting, aggravated or something.
Yeah.
So that is something that I feel like I've learned from her.
Well, and the thing that we talk about all the time, I had a young lady interview the other day for a business class. She was talking, want to talk to somebody in leadership at the company or whatever. And that was one of the things that, she asked me. She said, so what's something you think you're really good at? And I said, well, that's an interesting question because I feel like I ask that a lot. But I said, the thing that's important is hiring good people and people you can trust to do the job. But most importantly, y'all learn from each other. And I mean, so that's speaking right to that point. Even though we've been in it 29 years, Candace and I both have, we still learn every day, every year.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the changes that we've seen, like social, emotional, I mean, that wasn't even in the conversation probably 10 years ago.
No, I mean, I think just talking about relationships or whatever, but not just the mental health aspect.
Right.
It's just more students coming from more homes that are it's just really sad. So
Heartbreaking.
it is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Well, and it in my mind, it's really gotten prevalent like post COVID when we had the shutdown thing. So talk about that for a minute. I mean, obviously being in it 9 years, you got to live that, right? So what was that like for you?
Well, when there for a minute when we did the hybrid teaching,
Right.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
was
yeah.
that was
Insane,
so
yeah.
hard, and
Yeah.
like having kids on the screen watching you, kids in class watching you, trying to modify how to plan things that are positively impacting both of the groups. That was so exhausting. And wearing a mask with first graders
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
exhausting.
Oh, I
Trying to
can
teach
imagine.
them sounds, reading them books,
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
So all of that was definitely hard. But I would definitely say, for us as a crew, what we've seen kind of since COVID is the kids aren't getting connected at home.
Right.
They're searching for it everywhere at school. And we laugh all the time. The kindergartners, each group that's come in since COVID, it is just like WWE out there on the playground. They can't keep their hands off of each other. They're just
Right.
constantly
Yeah.
all over each other. And we've talked this year especially. We see a lot with their fine motor skills
Sure.
are really struggling
Right.
since COVID. So I would say those are the biggest things we've all noticed since COVID, trying to make sure that they have structure here at school, because I think after COVID we lost some structure in the home.
Yeah.
And,
I also think, with the
Oh,
increase
for
of
sure.
this,
We've said
it's
that,
just,
yeah.
it is,
Absolutely.
they're, in some cases, it's just a babysitter.
Right.
Just put them in front of it,
Yeah.
and there's no connection, no
Right.
conversation.
And, I don't think in the moments that that's happening, they're thinking about the impacts that that's going to have with their fine motor. But
Right.
I mean, right now we're
Right.
seeing kindergartners try to pick up a pencil and, their hand already hurts because none of those muscles are ready to
yeah,
hold
right.
it, ready to work.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting take, the WWE comment, because but what I would say to that is, now that you mention it, it makes sense. I mean, I think those kids were bottled up, for a while. And
They were, yeah.
And then having the opportunity to reign free or run free
Yeah.
again. But I can honestly say I've noticed that in a place or two that we've been, and really hadn't reflected on it like that. But
Yeah.
there was
Could-
probably a lot of truth to that.
Could be the full moon too, because
It could be that too, for
and that is a
sure.
real thing.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, all of you,
That's right.
everybody will
Yes.
agree that's
Yeah.
a real thing.
Anybody in
Yeah.
education, they will never question that.
No.
So.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, nah, that in the springtime when the sap's rising, I'm like, what is that? But hey, you experience eighth
Oh,
graders
it's
1
true.
year. Woo,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
The springtime drama just
Yeah.
shoots
It shoots
up.
up.
It does.
It does. And
For
and
sure.
you're like, yeah.
Front's coming in, full moon,
Yeah, yeah. So
it's crazy.
take heed to the Farmer's Almanac.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to say.
I think it affects us sometimes too. I was
Yeah.
like off
Yes.
today. I was like forgetting
Yeah.
stuff at the beginning of the week. I'm like, it's the full moon.
Gotta be. Has nothing to do
Nothing, no old age.
No-
Nothing to do with old age.
Nothing to do with the fact that she's just her daughter and soon to be husband with a house, finding it, getting
Yeah.
it ready, planning a wedding, and has nothing to do with that. The old mathlete is
No.
losing a little bit of
Yeah.
her touch. So
It could have a little bit to do with that. Just a lot on the ADD brain
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
so first grade, obviously, it can be a challenging year, but at the end of the year, man, what a rewarding year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, first graders, they've got a lot of big jumps and leaps to make.
Right.
They got a lot of things they have to learn. But, yeah, you can really see when they start to feel more confident towards the end of first grade, feeling like they can read.
Yeah.
When they start the year saying, I don't know how to read anything, I can't do it. And they can.
Oh,
They
yeah.
can. Their kindergarten teachers have prepped them
Right.
well. They can
Yeah.
read. But, yeah, you definitely see lots of growth
Yeah.
with reading in
I
first
think it's-
grade.
Lots of aha moments.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Well,
yeah.
see, I taught math, and then of course, when you're a kid, you don't remember really trying to read. Of course, we learned. I'm old, so we learned by sight, and so
Yeah.
it was really cool with Sarah getting in school, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing! Like watching
Yeah.
the teachers and like her learning to read. It was just
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome. So I think it's
Yeah.
you guys do an amazing job.
Oh, yeah, and
Gotta
we learn as we go too.
Oh,
Me and my
100%.
partner are planning our phonics. There's a lot of
Yeah.
times that we want to dig into why does this word
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
pronounce this way? Why is
yeah.
or a kiddo we'll explain a rule to a kiddo and they'll say, well, what about this word? And we're like, well, we didn't even think of that word, so let's figure it out. Let's research.
Oh, yeah.
Why is it
Yeah.
different?
Yeah.
We call Miss
100%.
Amanda Bean all the time, and we're
Yeah.
like, oh, Please explain this
Yeah.
to us. Teach us.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing, though. I mean, that's what everybody says. The English language has so many exceptions. It's
So
like,
many
good grief,
things.
quit making
Yes.
exceptions. Just
Well,
go by the rule.
and you know, education is moving at a much faster pace, I think, in lots of ways. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
not only are the kids kind of learning on the fly at times, like you said, so are we.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We learn new things all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think you know the realistic piece of it is being open to that.
To
right?
learning,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, not all of us know it all. You know. You know,
Whatever.
Some of us are still trying.
That's
to
right.
learn right.
No.
You know. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, y'all have kids?
I don't have any kiddos of
Okay.
my own at the
Right.
moment, but I am married.
Right. Well, good. Good.
Awesome.
So,
Husband's name is Cody.
okay. Well, and what I would say to that is, you'll go through this. We talk about this a lot, openly, but it's the truth. If and when you do have kids, the toughest part about picking out a name is like, man, I like that.
Oh, I know.
Oh, that kid
Can't
is
use
horrible.
that one.
Yeah.
I said
Even
that
though
in
you love them
English.
all. You
Yeah.
love them all. I mean,
Yeah.
like.
Of course.
Yeah, but
course.
I mean, it's funny. Ours will be 25 in April, but I remember going through that whole thing, thinking, oh no, that reminds me of that kid or
Yeah.
whatever. But,
I think I was more like, okay, we're going to name her what we're going to call her, because it was constantly like, oh no, I go by my middle name.
Oh,
or I go by my.
yeah.
So,
right.
you know, when I was teaching, I finally got to a point at the first day of school, I said, look, I'm going to call your last name and you tell me
Right.
What
which
you wanna
name
be
you
called.
prefer to go,
Right.
go by, or if you have a nickname or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was just like, so we did.
Well, but at the end of the day, I think having kids that being a kid of an educator, just like you said, I mean, it's they get like the super education, I guess, right? So,
And both of ours didn't go into education.
and
And
right.
she was not. We joke about, because I taught math, and
Uh-huh.
she was struggled with math, and I'm like, good grief, she heard it for 9 months. I mean, she ought to, she heard it.
Should have already been
She
ready.
should have been ready,
Oh,
know.
yeah.
But neither they did not have that calling for education. But my grandmother was an educator.
Right.
Like I feel like it does kind of run.
So was your
Yeah.
mom like a first generation teacher, or does it go beyond that a little bit?
No, she was first generation
Okay.
teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Cool.
that's good. So, again, first grade's a very important grade. Do you ever have a desire to go up or down or?
Honestly, no. I've had a lot of people tell me that I should try second grade, and I hear that, second grade's a really good sweet spot. Kind of have some independence, but you still kind of have the babies.
Right.
No, I would be willing to go down in age. I would be willing to do kindergarten, but I'm more of a little people person.
Right.
I'm not
Sure.
the best big
Yeah.
people person.
Yeah.
So
Right.
We all have
like
our
all the little
spot.
people.
Like
That's
I
right.
scare the little kids.
Yeah. Well,
Darren probably does
oh
too.
yeah. We had a pre-K around school. We were visiting one of our pre-Ks, and I was reminded quick, and it was like the second day of school. One of them, as we walked in, started to cry, and I mean, it just went down the entire line, and I was like, "Oh my
Oh, my
goodness!"
goodness.
I couldn't handle that.
It does have to be sweet though. In the elementary, you get a lot of hugs. I remember
Oh,
middle
they're
school
so
principal.
sweet.
Yeah, fifth graders would still kind of give you a hug.
They
and then
do. Yeah.
The next year, it's like no,
No,
you know.
you're not cool. You got
No.
cooties.
Yeah,
stay
yeah.
away. Yeah.
But
That is one thing I've really loved about Mountain Pine is our building is K through 6.
Yeah.
So I still, when we walk up to the hall every morning to go get our current class, we get, our name popcorned out, Miss Worley, Miss Worley,
oh,
or,
yeah.
and
You
it's
get to
kiddos
keep
you've
up with
seen
them.
before, and
Yeah.
and you know them, and
Yeah.
they'll come up and hug you, and you get to kind of touch
Right.
base with them.
that's
yeah.
cool.
That's something I love about Mountain
Oh,
Pine.
yeah. Well, and the crazy thing about it for me is middle school is probably my favorite, but I think that's because that's my sweet spot. That's
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's my
I-
mentality today.
yeah.
You know what I'm
me
saying?
Too.
Hey,
me too.
you know.
I did like middle school. Everybody,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it is, it's crazy.
But it's
Or a hard grade.
it's funny that you say that because I think I taught as low as fifth grade,
Mm-hmm.
or I say taught was part of fifth grade as
Mm-hmm.
an administrator, and then went to high school. And the cool thing about that was seeing, it's kind of like you were saying. I mean, seeing the kids that I had in middle school, morph
Grow
into
up.
yeah,
Yeah,
and so
that's
that
awesome.
that was kind of cool
Yeah.
just to see and have those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we say this all the time. Obviously, that's what it's all about is
Yeah,
relationships.
yeah,
So-
you're gonna have your kids that are gonna think back and remember, you know,
Yes.
Miss Worley.
Yeah. So in 9 years you've been here, right? Is what you said? Wow. So
That's awesome.
so I guess that first group of first graders would be what, 10th grade, 9th grade?
Yep, they're in high school. It's
Yeah.
crazy watching them walk to the bus.
Yeah.
Do they walk
They're
through like
grown.
before graduation? Do they come through?
They
the-
do,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
ma'am.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that is.
I love it when they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and last year they paired with kindergartners, and so they had kindergartners and seniors walking through the hall for their little graduation parade, and it
That's
was
Oh, wow.
so,
It is so precious.
cute.
Yeah.
That's too
It's
cute.
really
I saw
precious.
this thing the other day on there was a school district social media that's, you know, once in a while you'll see good stuff, but what they do in the very beginning of the year, they get kindergarten on one end zone and the seniors on the other end zone, and they meet at the 50-yard line.
Yes,
So they get to know each
That's
other.
cool.
So, yeah, so I thought it was a great way
that
for them
is cool.
to bring
That's
them in.
neat.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the best advice you ever got as far as I mean, it doesn't even necessarily have to be with teaching, but
The best advice I've ever
Yeah.
got.
So that's
Oh.
hard for me because I'm like, I've gotten a lot of good advice.
I know.
yeah, she's
That
worked
is
with me
hard.
twice, so you can make that connection.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Derek
Yeah,
gives
yeah.
the best
That's
advice
exactly
and the worst advice.
Well, I'm
The
glad
worst
you admitted
advice.
that in public. So yeah.
I would say when I first started, you know, I feel like a lot of times first year teachers, they'll get some who are like, oh, you know, everyone will tell you, oh, you better look out what you're getting
Yeah.
into. You're going
Right.
to hate, you know.
Right.
And I remember one of my first years at Mountain Pine, our principal was Mr. Crosby at the time. And I remember I had gotten a couple comments in one day, like, if you think it's bad now, just wait,
Yeah.
you know. And I remember asking him, like, do you have any advice for how I avoid becoming
Right.
that? You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to discourage someone who's coming
Right.
new. I mean, I remember him telling me, just always be willing to be a lifelong learner and know that's
Right.
part of being an educator. So I would
Yeah.
say that is probably the best advice
Yeah.
I've
That's
ever
great advice.
received, and I
Yep.
feel like I've really tried to take it to heart to, you know, try not to resist the change even
Right.
when it's scary.
Sure.
You know, and things feel a little bit out of your
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
Just being willing to learn and be flexible and learn from
Right.
your partner next door, your partner down the hall.
Yeah.
And to just remember that they're all our
Oh, yeah.
kiddos. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we really try at Mountain Pine to make sure we all feel like they're all our babies, not Ms. Shell's class or Ms. Hawk, you know, not each
Yeah.
Yeah.
person. They're
And-
our
everybody's.
kids.
And I think that's felt here, even when we come on
Yeah.
campus. You know,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have, let's see, what are we up to? 22 districts, I guess we serve, but lots and
Yeah.
lots of buildings.
Yeah.
But it's certainly felt here.
Yeah,
I actually
you
have
can.
I have a nephew that's a senior here. So
Oh, wow.
shout out Peyton. So yeah, yeah. So but anyway, yeah, definitely felt here. You know, it's funny you say that because you know, Candace and I probably are a lot more alike like this than we would admit. But you know, when people say, you know, say those, you know, not so positive things, I'll say it that way. I mean, that just fuels us to say, oh yeah, I'll watch this. You know, just because
Yeah.
you weren't successful doesn't mean
Yeah.
we won't
Doesn't
be.
mean- yeah.
We'll,
And
we'll
it's
figure
hard.
it out. Yeah.
Like it's hard because you get stressed and
Yeah.
you know, I don't know, I'll catch myself if I try to start falling into that, you know, negative, then I'm like, whatever. I don't
Right.
have anything to complain about. Just let's,
Yeah.
you know, shift my thinking and,
yeah.
you know, and especially all the changes coming down. We were talking about this
Right.
yesterday about how stressed teachers and administrators probably are with all the changes and the new testing and everything. And
Yeah.
it's like almost like everybody just take a deep breath.
Take a deep
You
breath.
know,
That's
nobody's
right.
going to go to jail. It's
Right.
like going to
Yeah.
be okay. You're just going to take it a step at a time and
Right.
you're just going to do what you can do and it's going to be okay, you know?
Yes.
And-
So, yeah,
We're going to figure it out together.
that's right.
I can remember when I first got in radio, and I had a boss. I mean, he was one of the best at just rolling with the punches. I mean, nothing really rattled him. And so I asked him one day, man, I said, well, what's that all about? And he said, oh, I'll give you advice I got one time. And he said, if it can't eat you, it can't kill you. And I said, okay then.
Okay.
So simple as that is, I mean,
Yeah.
he ain't wrong, right?
That's right.
So,
That's right.
All right.
yeah. So if you weren't teaching, you would be doing what?
I would probably be a party planner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I like planning showers at church and planning showers here at school.
Gotcha.
And so my best friend who works here, Nicole Lawrence, she tells me all the time, if you'll start your party planning business, I'll be your secretary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
so you get to bring that into the
Yeah.
classroom
Oh,
too.
we
Yeah,
do
the kids
sometimes.
probably love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be
Yeah, that's cool.
where I
Okay.
would go.
So,
Yeah, Katie's good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not good at party planning. I'm
Katie's
like,
over the top with that.
Yeah.
Let's just say that like
Hey, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
We need over the top party
That's right.
planning. Yes,
That's
we
right.
do.
So your husband's not related to education in his chosen
No,
profession?
he's not. He works
Yeah.
at Sigma Supply.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I
so he's
gotcha.
close. He's right
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah.
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 So you don't have to talk shop then when
Yeah.
you get home.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can see when I'm, when you need to talk about school and you
Yeah.
can see he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And so
Yeah.
I mostly talk school with my mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you're
Yeah.
just like, just listen and let me
Just
talk.
listen,
and
let
then-
me get it
yeah.
out. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny. We have this in common. I mean, we both have folks that work are married to folks in education, but I mean they're not teachers.
No,
They're
my
No.
husband's in
kind of the-
maintenance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then my wife's in the
Yeah.
financial office at a district. So yeah, it's interesting sometimes.
Probably get to hear other sides
Oh, yeah.
of education.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Scott's he's driven a bus. He does
Yeah.
it now, but
Yeah.
I was
Well,
like,
that takes a brave, special
yeah,
person.
yeah.
I do not miss driving a bus.
Well,
yeah.
and as being an administrator, you probably got it too. But my wife she's told me plenty of times what not to do as an administrator.
Yeah.
Think about this, or I'll say this is what
Yeah.
I'm thinking, and
Yeah.
she'll like, no, that's not to handle that.
Oh, gosh.
So, I have a radio background, so I love talking music. So, what do you listen to? What's on your playlist?
I listen to mostly worship music. That's
Okay.
what my husband and
Yeah.
I like to listen
Yeah.
to.
Okay.
We have Apple Music, so we have a shared
Oh yeah,
worship playlist, and we
Yeah.
both add our favorite
Get your-
worship
get
songs.
yeah.
Keeps you
Wow.
positive.
It
huh?
does.
Yeah.
It does. It helps me in
Yeah.
the mornings.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Good.
I'm all over the road. I go from that to I guess my sweet spot would probably be 90s country because that's
Yeah?
what I worked in it. But but yeah, plenty of worship music
Yeah.
that I'll listen to until I'm in traffic. Somebody cuts me off, and I say a not so worshipy word. Then I'll flip it over to something hip hopish to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't take it out on the other driver. I just vent right there.
There you go.
Oh, gosh.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us and keep
Well,
doing
I
what you're
appreciate
doing,
it.
making a
Yes.
huge difference,
You are.
obviously, and what a fantastic opportunity. I talk about that a lot. Teaching, pretty big responsibility, but I mean it's 10 times more an opportunity the way I look at that
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
really do get to shape those kids, especially at your age.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that's
they're
where
fun.
you talked about a love for learning. I think that's where that's developed. I mean, if you got a
Sure.
crappy teacher in first
Yeah.
grade, you're not going to love it, right?
not gonna
So-
love it,
So,
that's
I know it's crazy. I'm sitting here thinking, I can remember year 9, and we're already at year 29. It goes fast. So
Goes
just enjoy
fast.
every
It does.
moment,
Yeah.
even when it's stressful. Enjoy
Yeah.
it.
yeah,
I
it's
will.
stressful.
Thank
That's
you.
why my hair's gray. Candace and I student taught together, and I've worked with her. I don't know how many years now collectively. Oof, man.
Yeah. What
Talk about
when somebody
stress.
said, "Oh yeah, I've aged so much better."
Yeah, yeah. So
Second career for him, so I'll give you
Yeah,
that. You did
yeah,
start a little
right.
bit later. Than
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
but
that's right. So
yeah.
anyway, well, it was a pleasure having you with
Yes,
us today.
enjoyed it.
And like
Thank
I
y'all
said,
so much. I
you know,
feel honored.
yeah, keep doing what you do, and we appreciate it. So that'll put the wraps on this episode of Spilling the Tea in Studio D.